What's going on, Outlaws? Khrase here, back again with another Red Dead Redemption 2 video. Now I know many of you are probably expecting more news to be discussed, but today I'll do something a little bit different. There's a lot of information out there on how beautiful this game looks, and it seems Rockstar Games really did a number with this one. But one thing that isn't particularly brought up too often is the subject of performance. In an ideal world, we would all have the latest and best consoles available, but we all know that that is not true and that is not the case, and many of you probably own different versions of either the PlayStation 4 or the Xbox One. That's why in today's video we'll take a look at the performance you can expect from your console and how you should best prepare for it. So I hope you're all sitting comfy in your chairs, aim that like button if you enjoy these, and let's get to it. First and foremost, I'll start by saying that I'll mainly base this video on two sources: the gameplay video posted by Rockstar Games in August, which was analyzed by various websites since it was grabbed directly in game, and the latest PS4 Pro bundle for the respective console. Now, being a 2018 title, Red Dead Redemption 2 will obviously be playable at a maximum resolution of 4K and 30 FPS, since that is the maximum available for this resolution for any console out there. In the case of the Xbox One X, while there's no bundle info out there, it's expected that this will fully support 4K resolution, as it does so with literally every game in this generation, and it definitely has the hardware to do so. It's also most probably going to be able to output a maximum of 30 frame rates per second, since, well, 60 FPS is currently not available in this generation. The PS4 Pro, on the other hand, not being as advanced as the X, will be capable of running 4K 30 FPS, but with a twist. If you take a look at the recent bundle images, it's being mentioned that Red Dead Redemption 2 will take advantage of super sampling on HD TVs, HDR on HDR compatible TVs, and finally 2160p resolution, which is basically 4K. Now the problem is that the PS4 doesn't actually support native 4K resolution, and instead it employs various methods of bumping up the resolution itself and bringing it as close as possible to those levels. In the past, this was done by the use of various techniques such as checkerboarding or temporal reconstruction, like for example in the case of games such as Horizon Zero Dawn or God of War 4, which used some of these. But in the case of Red Dead Redemption 2, the technique will be somewhat different. From the analysis made on the video posted last month, it was discovered that while it's true that the game runs in full 4K on the vertical axis, the horizontal one has half the pixels of 4K. What this means is that instead of the 3840 by 2160p resolution, which is the native 4K, the PS4 Pro will be able to output a maximum of 1080 by 2160p at 30 frame rates per second maximum. So this is like half the resolution on the horizontal axis, and that is a reduction of roughly 50% in terms of graphical quality, but it also means 50% more performance increase, and that is quite significant. The fact of the matter is, the PS4 Pro will never be able to run anything in a native 4K, much less in 30 frame rates per second, but you shouldn't feel too bad about this. This is still a hefty increase over the 1440p resolution, and that is an increase by roughly 12.5%. Luckily enough, the hands-on preview we had a while back, which was also tested on the PS4 Pro, was reported to still look visually stunning and much better than any of the 2018 releases that we had thus far, and that says quite a lot considering that this year we had games like God of War 4, which looks absolutely amazing, as well as the more recent Marvel Spider-Man, which also looks beautiful to look at. So pretty awesome stuff. As for the frame rate itself, because I know frame drops are the bane of every gamer's existence, you'd be pleased to know that even the Pro was able to keep a solid constant 30 frame rates per second, and that one was of course on the 4K resolution setting. And in short, if you own a PS4 Pro like I do, or an Xbox One X and a 4K HDR capable TV, you will be able to take advantage of all of these latest goodies with a slight better quality in favor of the Xbox One X. But now that this is being said and done, what if you don't want to play in 4K 30 FPS? What if you want to play in 1080p and 60 FPS, especially if you're like trying to go on the online? Well, you probably want to curb those expectations a bit, because none of these consoles will be capable of maintaining a constant 60 frame rates per second. While there's no official confirmation yet on this one, if Rockstar Games decides to eventually introduce, say, a performance mode similar to the one in God of War 4, then the game will probably run at a 1080p resolution with an average of somewhere between 45-50 frame rates per second. It can like go to 60, but usually it drops. I mean, if you checked God of War 4, it couldn't really maintain 60 frame rates per second constantly, and it would like typically revolve somewhere around 50-55, sometimes drop in the 45s, and that game wasn't even fully open world and nowhere near as big as Red Dead Redemption 2. If Rockstar Games does end up implementing a performance mode in Red Dead Redemption 2, I wouldn't mind having a similar one to how it was in God of War 4. So that's what I'm trying to say, but again, there's no confirmation on any performance mode, at least not yet, and from the looks of it will most probably be capped at 30 frames per second no matter what resolution we choose, and the slight advantage of the Xbox One X in 4K capabilities, but that is pretty much it. Now moving on to other consoles, I know some of you still have the base versions of the PS4 or the Xbox One, or some of you even have the Xbox One S or the PS4 Slim, which behave slightly better. For the most part, these will be capable of 1080p and 30 frames per second. These are the only ones not capable of 4K, and with how game development has been done so far and taking into account all of the games that have been released in the past couple of years, you'll most probably not even perceive a major difference in terms of graphical resolution compared to the Pro or the X. Taking again example, some of the recent games such as God of War 4 or Marvel Spider-Man, there were tests being done here extensively, and in like normal situations, unless you stand still and perfectly look at a certain point on the screen, you won't see that much of a difference between the two versions of the console. And this was again reported to be the case with Red Dead Redemption 2 as well. It was reported that during the hands-on preview, the game looked very beautiful, aesthetically very pleasing, and much better than any game thus far released in 2018. And adding to this, the fact that you'll constantly be moving and you're like doing activities in the game, fighting and doing missions and whatnot, you're most probably not going to notice any visual details that typically go unnoticed anyway. Finally, as I am a PS4 Pro user myself, I want to also briefly go over the problem of sound, and I'm not sure how Xbox One does it, but the PS4 Pro, especially when it comes to older models, can get extremely loud. Even my PS4 Pro, which is the newest model available and supposedly should be the most quiet, can sound like a jet engine during certain play sessions. What I have observed so far though is that this is mostly dependent on what video game I play as well as how much stress they put on the hardware. So to draw a comparison, Marvel Spider-Man looks brilliant in 4K and doesn't make my PS4 Pro sound at all. It's basically dead silent. God of War, on the other hand, even on the performance mode, makes it sound like a complete jet engine. So there's definitely something in regards of how the game is optimized and how the resources are allocated, and I think the more visually demanding a game is, the more resources it tries to pull and the more your console has to work, which in turn also means that it will start sounding like a freaking airport. Seeing how absolutely massive the map in Red Dead Redemption 2 is, I am definitely expecting at least certain parts to make my PS4 Pro sound very loud, and this is probably going to be even more pronounced on older versions of the console and especially on the old PS4. Luckily enough, since the cities are not as crowded as they were, for example, in games such as like GTA 4 or GTA 5, that should not happen too much because you're like most probably going to play either in the open world or in very small towns or like stuff like that, so it shouldn't really do that much. But yeah, again, we'll have to wait and see. So far it was reported that it behaves very good on the PS4 Pro, at least during the game preview from like a couple of weeks back. Other than that, I recommend you keep your console outside of any enclosed places so it has room to ventilate, maybe even give it a nice cleaning against any dust accumulation, and that should definitely be helpful, at least in part. In the meantime, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like on it, also subscribe to the channel for more awesome Red Dead Redemption 2 content, and I'll see you guys in the next one, so peace out.